spoken about how parents, educators, governments, and policymakers can help young adults stay safe in an increasingly digital world. Today, we shift the spotlight to helping our young adults understand and stay safe in a virtual world. The Metaverse, described as a 3D virtual mirror to our existing physical world, will not just be limited to gaming and socializing. The development of the Metaverse is expected to impact online learning, healthcare, and government services. The Metaverse can be viewed as a three-dimensional digital world where users can interact with each other, and this interaction is achieved through personal avatars, which are created with the help of artificial intelligence. While some firms and influencers have already started making their mark on the Metaverse, with the practicality of the Metaverse still being in an initial stage, how can we embrace this new form of the web and ensure safety? And how can our young adults and all of us really be more aware and secure in the Metaverse? To discuss this, we are joined by Amar Patnaik, Rajya Sabha MP, BJD, and Member Joint Committee on Personal Data Protection Bill and Finance Committee, Rahul Sashi, Founder and CEO of CloudSec, Shruti Shreya, Program Manager at The Dialogue, and Onkar Sonavane, Cyber Expert. Thank you all for joining us. Rahul, let's begin by understanding how the Metaverse operates and the scope of this technology in India.
Metaverse is a virtual reality where people will be able to do anything and everything they do in real life using an AR and a VR headset. It is very similar to watching a 3D movie. You will be able to experience the movie better by wearing the 3D glasses. So in the Metaverse concept, the entire world or the entire internet is a single universe where people can actually come in and live an alternate life they choose. In effect, people will be able to do anything and everything they do in real world. For example, they will be able to attend a conference, they will be able to hang out with their friends, they will be able to go shopping with their friends, they will be able to buy paintings and then start an exhibition store. So pretty much any desires which you are not able to fulfill in the real life, you would be able to fulfill them on the internet with a much more elevated experience. That is what Metaverse would be.
Shruti, what are the likely benefits and risks of the Metaverse?
So this Metaverse, being the three-dimensional next step of the internet, has come with a plethora of new opportunities for the youth. We are seeing that it is going to bolster the digital economy and help strengthen its manifolds, be it e-commerce, be it cryptocurrencies, be it online gaming. All these sectors are experiencing a boom with the rise in the Metaverse and the inception of Web 3.0. There has been a crucial development in the health sector, in the education sector as well. Now people sitting at home can experience more immersive learning, more personalized learning, wherein they can experience being in an environment where, despite if they are not in a university or a school, they can experience the libraries of their university. So this accessibility has increased. Coming to the risk, the safety threats are going to increase as people are going to spend more time in this Web 3.0, be it cyber stalking, be it harassment, be it bullying. These are already on a rise on the internet right now. The online harms are increasing. And in the Metaverse, which is going to be a step ahead, there is going to be a very systematic and a gradual progression in these safety threats as well. We see hate speech, trolling, which is proliferating across social media platforms. There is going to be a rise in this with the digital avatars, which is going to be the avatar being a digital personification of an existing person. So these are some of the major concerns. Data protection and privacy is going to be another crucial concern there. Rise in data breaches we are already experiencing, and with more immersive experiences, there will be greater sharing of data. The technologies are such that they can even track your eyelids, your gait movements. So the access and collection of biometric data is also going to be on rise. So these are some of the risks which need to be taken care of, and accordingly the laws and the technology needs to be developed so that the privacy risks and the safety risks are minimized, and we can ensure a safer and more responsible experience for users going forward.
All right, thank you for that, Shruti. I'd like to bring you in, Ankar, on exactly this. Like she said, there'll be too much data really that will be shared. So given that the metaverse is essentially really an extension of today's internet and reality, how can we prepare to tackle risks such as snooping, data breaches, ransomware, identity theft, harassment, and also hate speech?
I saw one risk in metaverse, basically cyber threats, cyber bullying, and this is a totally virtual space. So the metaverse platform have to adopt a zero trust policy and validate everything. So we need to authenticate the metaverse system, like multi-factor authentications. And in metaverse, hacker can use another person's identity as well. So we need to use some authentication for particular user.
Amar Patnaik, really greater sharing and collection of data could lead to a surge of threats and data breaches. Are these risks more concerning for countries like India that do not have a dedicated data protection legislation at the moment?
Yes, absolutely right. The point is, metaverse is basically not just a technology platform. It is a new universe. It's an alternate universe, an augmented universe in which reality is virtual and reality is also augmented. Now, the basic tenet of this entire new universe would be avatars of yourself who are going and feeling that experience. Through them, you are feeling that experience, which is a completely different experience compared to the 2D experience that one is facing now. But coming with this, when you create that avatar, you have to collect a lot of data, and that would include the personal data. And as Shruti was saying, that all these are available with the platform or with various applications, because within the metaverse, there will be different applications for performing different activities. Now, this data has to be safeguarded, number one. And number two, and more important, that they are not used by predators of different kind. They could be data predators, they could be your identity predators, they could be your cultural predators. Now, all these do not use it to cause you harm. And if they do cause you harm, how to book them, how to take them to task, so that the confidence in the system remains. Now, that's again a crucial thing that is going to happen. So I maintain that when we do not have the data protection bill, it is already causing a lot of, I would say, heartburn and nightmare in the 2D world, in the internet world. And when we go to a different world, which is much more, it's a different world altogether, the concerns would be much more accentuated and would be augmented, just like the reality which is augmented. These harms will be augmented, the challenges will be augmented, and the risks will be augmented. The other point here is that this would not also get solved through incremental regulatory changes. And this is what is the point which I want trying to make, because this is almost like regulatory transformation or regulatory disruption, because it requires regulatory changes in almost everything: the criminal justice system, the criminal laws, the payment laws, the way even you see the central bank is not even able to currently regulate the cryptocurrencies. We have not even taken a decision on that. Now, when you are saying that you will be doing real estate trading in the metaverse using cryptocurrencies or NFTs, that is just a small part of this kind of transaction. But when there are other kinds of transactions, going to a shopping mall, you get a product which is not what you had actually seen over there, and you bought it, then you want to charge the seller with some kind of action. Then how do you do it in the physical world? So I think there are a variety of challenges, including, of course, the most important, as you said, is data protection, data privacy. So the law, if it comes, it would actually improve the 2D world first and would therefore contribute to improving the metaverse world. But I think much more than a data protection law would be required, even though the principles would remain the same.
Rahul, then, like Sir was saying, like Mr. Patnaik was saying, this next phase of the web is also seen as an era where influence becomes more important than relevance in the future. What do you see as the strengths and weaknesses of this? And how do you think we can help the young adults and our young adults really make more informed choices in the future?
We are already attached to the mobile and internet and are in constant communication with each other. Metaverse will simply serve to make this experience less artificial. That means if people are already addicted to the internet, you're going to get more addicted to the metaverse. A world that is more satisfying than the current world, where you are more richer, you are more handsome, more beautiful, more faster. While the experience is good, people will start forsaking the real world for the virtual pleasures. The big drawback of this is any influential platform over the internet can actually bend young youth into thinking a certain way. Youngsters usually fall prey for flashy trends without thinking about the impact or the importance of their actions. Young adults should be taught about the safe internet and should be encouraged to question conventional ideas.
All right. Mr. Amar Patnaik, with companies, gaming platforms and celebs really already investing in the metaverse, how can we assess the performance of the metaverse economy?
This is a very new, it's a completely new world, and this requires changes, as I said, not only in all laws, existing laws in various sectors. It also requires changes, which I want to emphasize, on the behaviors of all the actors in the physical world, as well as the avatars who are there in the metaverse world. So where to begin? I think the beginning would be to create two things. That is awareness about what metaverse is amongst all stakeholders, including the policymakers, including the lawmakers, including the judges and the lawyers, including those who are using it. So those who are already invested in it, it is their job, I think, besides promoting innovation, improving or promoting digital economy, they should contribute aggressively towards creating this awareness. And the most important thing is about digital literacy. Being aware about it is one thing, and using that particular technology or using that universe to do transactions, daily transactions as you feel, and be safeguarded against a fraud, safeguarded against a data theft, identity theft, against, let's say, sexual misbehavior, against stalking, cyberbullying. Now, these are further laws which have to be made, and therefore digital awareness and digital literacy, particularly in a situation in our country where the rural population, the internet density itself is about 36-37%. So how do they enjoy this experience and at the same time remain safe from all these risks that I mentioned? So I think the beginning would be to create awareness and simultaneously improve the literacy amongst all stakeholders, and then start with the risks one by one, how they can be mitigated, what are the changes that's in the IT law, in the personal data protection law itself. Can the current ambit of the laws factor in the new metaverse universe, or there are changes which have to be specified, new definitions have to be mentioned, and which the judiciary also has to appreciate. So it's a whole lot of work, harmonizing the real world with the augmented world. And that has to be happening not just in one particular sector, but all across. So it's a mammoth task there.
That's true. Like you said, it really is a challenging task ahead of us. But a very interesting point that you mentioned was the rural-urban divide. Like we've already seen this divide, like you said, in the Web 2.0 world. Here we're progressing to Web 3.0. So Mr. Patnaik, really, how do you think, what can we really start with to sort of look at the rural-urban divide? Of course, one is literacy, like you mentioned. But for young adults, really, some having language barriers, what do you think can be the first step for the metaverse and the road ahead?
See, for the spread of the metaverse in the rural India particularly, the most important thing is infrastructure. So the infrastructure to provide internet connectivity, which is qualitative and uninterrupted internet services at the rural level. The government is already on it to link all panchayats. So I think that action has to be augmented. But you see, the metaverse uses IoT, Internet of Things, quite a bit. So I think those devices have to be also spread. And the place to start, I still feel, are the schools and the colleges. And that's where it has to begin. They are the digital natives. They can grapple with the challenges faster. They can understand the thing faster, and then they could actually be the drivers of this change, which is which would impact the rest of the crowd. And they are the older people who are probably drawing a pension. Now they are asked that you please go to the metaverse world and go to a bank branch, and you can get your pension without having to go there. You can just put those goggles. Now the point is, the rural India has not even seen any of this. So I think the best place to start will be the schools and colleges. And they would be the ones who will spread this culture, both of, what are the advantages, the merits, as well as the demerits, because they understand it well. The children would get affected because the children would get benefit. One of the biggest advantages of the metaverse would be in the field of education, besides e-commerce and marketing, digital marketing. So these are the people who are going to drive this forward, and government should therefore, I think, without waiting for regulatory regime to be crystallized and brought in, at least improve the digital literacy and awareness of metaverse amongst the, we are a young country, so amongst the young India. And it is only then that we can unleash the full potential of metaverse as contributing to the $1 trillion digital economy that the Prime Minister has been talking about.
Sure. So digital literacy really playing a crucial role there. And, Shruti, how can policymakers help prepare for the metaverse in your mind?
So the data protection legislation is the most crucial need of the hour. And as Dr. Patnaik also mentioned, only and only this law is going to ensure that these data breaches is curtailed to a greater extent. More importantly, this is also important to ensure better accountability from the companies, the kind of data that they are collecting. So the data protection legislation comes with a lot of principles of data minimization, where only limited data has to be collected as much as it is truly needed to deliver the service. Purpose limitation, the data that is collected should only be used for the purpose for which it was collected originally. So once the data protection law is actually brought into force, the DPA, the Data Protection Authority, which is going to be the regulator, can ensure that the companies are complying with these practices and their data collection is based on these principles. The collection is on the basis of informed consent of the people. People are given a reasonable knowledge that this is the kind of data that a particular platform is collecting, and it is ensured that they are getting informed consent, which means that the person should understand that what is exactly the kind of data that he or she is giving. It shouldn't just be that the company is coming up with a long privacy policy which is not comprehensible by people, but the people should be able to understand it and accordingly share their data. So the data protection law is important. The government is also considering to overhaul the IT Act. The IT Act, which is the primary regulation for the entire technology space. So it will be important to have a multi-stakeholder approach there, understanding the needs of the emerging technologies. Cybersecurity experts, engineers, lawyers, ethical experts, social scientists need to be integrated into this process to understand the needs of the emerging technologies, to understand how the technologies are going to impact users psychologically, mentally, emotionally, what are going to be the physical repercussions of these technologies in our day-to-day life, and accordingly the policies and laws need to be tailored. The appropriate amendments and updations is also required in our copyright laws, in our trademark laws, given the kind of buying of intellectual property that is taking place in the metaverse. The property laws, the existing Transfer of Property Act, which regulates the sale and purchase of property in the physical space, is not updated to tackle the needs of sale and purchase of digital properties in the metaverse. So accordingly, updation has to be required and done in all these laws to ensure that they are updated to tackle the challenges in the growing metaverse. More importantly, the policymakers should definitely focus on more awareness, more training for the users, training programs, the national education policy. It should look at providing online safety training right from the schools, right from colleges. And in collaboration with all of this, there has to be an enough stress and capacity building of the law enforcement agencies. So ensuring that there is adequate workforce, the law enforcement is equipped with the highest level of technology to take effective and swift action on any kind of cyber crimes that's reported, to ensure effective prosecution of cyber criminals is going to be equally important.
All right, important points there really. But Onkar, as a cyber expert, I'd like to come to you. How do you think we can start assessing, one, of course, the benefits and the risks which we've spoken about, but how do you think we can start tackling the risks really?
Metaverse company have to adopt a zero trust policy and validate everything. This required a solid framework for preservation of our data and continuous verification of the parties with which the exchange of the data leak places. Okay, companies should be surveyed to go beyond authentication, and authentication is the most important thing in metaverse. So every person need authentication for metaverse surfing.
All right. Mr. Patnaik, lastly, while the metaverse is seen as a concept that will mimic the real world, what measures can we start taking immediately so it is not a Pandora's box of digital trouble in the times ahead?
Yeah, as has already been discussed, the most important thing I think is to recognize that this is a technology which is going to stay. Very often, in government, people don't really recognize that the technology moves at a pace which is much faster than the regulation, and this lag, when it becomes more and more, then the technology has actually moved ahead, and many people would have got affected by it. So I think the most important thing first is to recognize that this has come to stay, and therefore the best thing is to regulate it in order to improve the experience with the right amount of caution. And that caution would come in the form of changing, as we discussed. First thing is to pass this data protection bill, because the most important concept here is data minimization. Collection of data itself should be as less as possible. And one important thing which has not been discussed, and I'll leave with that, is the fact that since it is going to use artificial intelligence, and the data that is collected, the kind of algorithms that will be used to, in these algorithms to give this experience, they could actually be biased to even change and alter the choices of the avatars who are going to operate in the metaverse. It is already happening in the 2D world, and that's even more dangerous. So to recognize and list out all the risks, and then for each of the risks, how to mitigate, which are the laws that requires to be changed, and more importantly, how to improve awareness and literacy. I think these are the steps that needs to be taken all simultaneously, because technology is moving very fast.
That's true. Technology is moving very fast, and like you said, we really need to move and go, in tandem, and our pace needs to match the pace at which, of course, all of this is moving. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts. The metaverse clearly seen as a double-edged sword, and it is up to the governments, policymakers, companies, communities, and individuals to work out the weaknesses in the system and use it to our collective advantage. With this, we of course end our series of Safe in Cyberia for now. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you.